Hello, what's up? If you're new here, my name is Kayla. I have created many different kinds of videos throughout my YouTube life, career situation. Today I want to talk to you guys about doing the whole YouTube thing when you're on a budget. I know that for a lot of people it's a barrier, or they think it's a barrier, the fact that they don't have a fancy camera, they don't have super high quality editing software, they don't have an incredible laptop. I'm here to tell you that those are all barriers that you create for yourself, and that they don't have to be barriers if you put the work in and you work around those. Yes. So I want to give you guys some tips and tricks because up until last year I had crap equipment. We're going to go through all of the equipment that I used starting from the very beginning in 2014, and then I'm going to tell you guys about some free resources that I have personally used so much throughout my career in making content, and I am going to give you guys the tools that I had access to and that everyone with a laptop and an internet connection should have access to in order to start making videos for YouTube. So here we go. Let's just jump right in with the equipment that I started off with. So you guys know that I just upgraded my camera, which is the most exciting thing ever for me. But what you also need to know is that back in 2014, when I started creating videos, I was using an iPhone 4S, I believe. And I know that even for some people, iPhones are expensive. And I would also like to let you know that I am someone who regularly switches between iPhone and Samsung. So I have shot on an iPhone 4S when I first started. And then I also shot on a Samsung Galaxy S7, maybe. Fact of the matter is that these days, pretty much any smartphone you get, the cheapest smartphone on the market, as long as it's not, you know, a flip phone or like a Nokia, they have a good enough camera for you to shoot videos on. So I used all of those smartphones to film my videos before I ever got a fancy camera. And when I did get a fancy camera, it cost me about $500, which is probably the lowest that you can get a DSLR camera for brand new. And it was a Nikon D3200. It was a DSLR and I had the kit lens on it, and that is what I started using going into university. So I didn't actually get that camera until 2 years into making YouTube videos. Then after that, I traded in my Nikon D3200, which you can do at a shop called Henry's here in Canada. I don't know if it's in the States as well or anywhere else in the world, but they'll basically do a trade-in. So they'll give you a discount if you trade in an old camera. I traded in a Nikon D3200, which is not worth a lot of money. I think I got like $50 off my next camera. But my next camera was a Canon M100. It had the little flip up screen, and that was very exciting for me. And that, I want to say, costed somewhere around $600 to $700, maybe not even that much. So I upgraded, but it really cost me only a couple $100 more than my original one did. And then of course along the way, I grabbed some fun cameras. I got my GoPro Hero 8, which was around $500 when it was brand new with a package that came with some extra accessories. And then I also got my drone, which was $600 to $700. Again, I buy it in like a package deal so that it comes with extra blades, extra batteries. So those are like special cameras that I bought, but again, they're not necessary for you to just start like a vlogging or a sit-down YouTube channel. And finally, I got my Sony A7iii, which I only got this year, and the only reason I got it is because I'm out of school now and I'm working, so I regularly have an income. When I was still in school, there was no chance that I was ever going to save up enough money to buy a camera like this. So a couple things to keep in mind when it comes to shooting on a cheaper camera, like the ones that I've used in the past and like the ones you guys will probably use if you're on a budget and can't afford a big fancy camera. Is that lighting is the most key factor in making your content look nice. So if I was just sitting here in the dark, this camera would probably pick it up okay, but if I was using a smartphone or like my Nikon D3200, it would have looked like crap. Like you probably could have picked out the pixels on the screen. So like even a cheap smartphone camera looks better quality, like 10 times better quality if the subject is lit well. So if I light myself up in a way that's flattering. So I sit in front of a window, maybe some daylight, maybe you get yourself a cheap ring light. That's my key tip when it comes to cheap camera equipment, is just to make sure that it's well lit. Because if it's well lit and also you're close enough to the camera to actually hear you, and you make sure to project your voice, because the audio on smartphones isn't that great. So if you make sure to actually project your voice or layer in whatever sound you need, if it's not actually someone talking and it's just like visuals, so you make sure the audio is good and you make sure the lighting is good, it really isn't gonna matter how incredible your camera is. But now let's move on to extras. And the thing is that for the most part, you don't really need that many extras. So when I started, I didn't have a tripod. I just set my phone up on whatever I could find. I stacked books, I used my dresser, I taped it to the wall one time. I had some seriously creative rigging setups. The first tripod I ever got was for free from my family, and it was actually used for a fish finder, which is like a little camera that it's like a radar that sees underwater, and you bring it on a boat with you so that you can see where the fish are when you're going fishing, which I don't know, kind of sounds like cheating to me. But the point is that tripod I just got for free from a family member. I used that tripod up until today. It is the flimsiest thing, and like when I put my Nikon on it, I was worried it would topple over, but I used the crap out of that tripod and it worked, you know? And you can get a cheap tripod for 20 bucks on Facebook Marketplace. Just get it used if you really, really need a tripod. Then I moved on to some higher quality ones, like I mentioned. I got the kind of mini Joby Gorilla tripod, but now I have upgraded to this tripod, which I'll put a photo of it here. I actually just got it today from Best Buy. It's beautiful compared to my fish finder tripod. And I also got the full-size Gorilla tripod for this big camera now because I need to support more weight. But again, tripod-wise, I started with nothing. Like, I started just by stacking my phone wherever I could find space for it. The only other things I feel like maybe I could mention is getting a ring light, like I mentioned, for lighting. But I just got a ring light from Amazon. I think the one I got was a little more expensive, like $60 to $70. You can get them for so cheap and they still work great. Not to mention, you make use of places like Facebook Marketplace, Kijiji, Craigslist. Find camera equipment used. It's so much cheaper, and for the most part, like tripods and ring lights and stuff, if they're made well, they're supposed to last years and years. So if you get it used, it's probably still in great shape, and the person getting rid of it was just upgrading. The amount of times that videographers and photographers upgrade their equipment means that there's a lot of used equipment on the market that's really good quality, but for a tiny fraction of the price. So please make use of used equipment. You don't need shiny, fancy new equipment. But yeah, genuinely, besides that, as far as extras go, I have never bought a different lens for my camera. I've used different lenses, like borrowed some from people, but I have always used the kit lens. So if you are buying a camera and it comes with a kit lens, the kit lens is usually more than usable. It's usually a really good medium range lens. You have some sort of zooming capability. Besides that, all the other extras, like a microphone, I still don't have one. I probably should. I'm working on getting one. The ones at Best Buy were too expensive. I'm still on a budget, okay? Like I mentioned, as long as you make sure that the audio is semi-decent and you can at least, you know, understand what you're saying, it's fairly clear, and then you make sure that you're lit well, then you can shoot with whatever camera you want. Accessories are not exactly necessary. Now let's jump into software. So I'm going to talk about two different kinds of software. I'm going to talk about video editing software, and I'm going to talk about photo editing software. And I'm going to talk about photo editing software just because thumbnails are such a massive part of YouTube, and also being able to open up photos, edit them, add text to them is such an important part of YouTube that I want to include that. But let's just start with editing equipment, and I started editing on a Toshiba laptop that I bought with my Christmas money one year. I think it was $450. It was not a good laptop, but it came with Movie Maker, and that's what I used. So on that laptop, I used Movie Maker to edit my videos. It had all of the basic functions I needed. I could cut, I could layer in music, I could edit the color, I could add transitions. It had everything that I needed to at least get started and just start making something. And it came for free on any Windows machine. It was already there by default. And then for photo editing, I used a program that I actually still love, and if I didn't use Photoshop now, I would 100% still use it because it's incredible. And it's called GIMP, and I always used to describe it as Photoshop's cheaper, more complicated cousin, because it's basically Photoshop, but the settings are not quite as user-friendly. So there's a little bit of a learning curve, but you can do pretty much everything in GIMP that you can in Photoshop, and it's free. So GIMP is 100% worth it, and I love that software. So then at the beginning of film school, my Toshiba decided to die, which was pretty good because I got it in grade 8, I think. So that means it lasted 5 years, and I worked that thing into the ground. So finally my Toshiba died, and I upgraded. I got a MacBook Pro 13-inch, I think. So on that, I just use iMovie. Again, iMovie comes for free on Apple products, so you can just use it. You don't have to pay for it, and it actually has some more features than Movie Maker did at the time when I was using it. So that was great. That was an upgrade in and of itself just by upgrading my laptop. And at that point, I still used GIMP. So this was all before I switched over to the Adobe Creative Cloud suite. I was just using Movie Maker or iMovie, and then I was using GIMP for my photos, and that worked incredibly. I did that for multiple years before switching, and those programs are all free. You don't have to pay for them. So by the time I switched over to my HP laptop, which that laptop was just a nightmare. That I don't even want to think about that laptop. By the time I switched over to that, I had started paying for Adobe, the Adobe Creative Cloud suite, which I adore now. I love it. It comes with Premiere Pro and After Effects for video editing, and then it also comes with Photoshop for photo editing, and it comes with a ton of other programs as well. But it is about, I think it's $26 USD a month. So for me, it comes to, I think $35 to $40 a month, depending on the conversion rate. So that pretty much goes over the software that I used. I just used whatever was on my laptop plus GIMP for photo editing because we love GIMP. And then I upgraded to Adobe Creative Cloud, and I've been using that ever since, and I love it. And now finally, let's talk about some more free media resources, because I know you want the fun music, but you can't actually use music and monetize it if it's copyrighted. I get it. So I'm going to tell you the resources that I used. The first one, I used to just YouTube copyright-free or royalty-free music. And for the first couple years, that's where I got all of my music. You can find copyright-free or royalty-free music on YouTube, and then normally in the description of the video of the music, they have a link to probably their SoundCloud or something, and you can download that music and use it for free. A lot of the time they ask that you at least follow the SoundCloud so that you can support them, which I don't think is a big deal. It's free to follow someone, and then you get free music. So finding music that way is an incredible resource. You also now have access to a copyright-free music library within YouTube. So YouTube Studio has actually introduced its own copyright-free music library, which you can use anything that you want from that, and it's copyright-free, or it tells you what the copyrights on it are. For copyright-free video footage and photos, I'm just gonna tell you the main resource that I use, and I still use it to this day. It's called Pexels. So Pexels is a stock footage and stock photo library website, but it doesn't cost any money, and it's all free to use. So it's all under a certain license that you can use it for anything you want. They've got drone footage. If you want drone footage, you don't have any. They've got just like your most general, like people walking in the city, or maybe up on top of a mountain if you want to set the scene. They've got stock footage, and you can download it for free. And you can also download photos for free from them. So maybe you can download those and use it for free. So that is pexels.com. I will leave it linked below so that you guys can find it. I'll leave all of the resources linked below. Don't worry. We will find a way for you to make YouTube videos for free. So obviously you have to be, savvy. You have to find as much free resources as you can, and it's a little bit more difficult to use some of the free resources just because they make them that way, but they are out there, so there shouldn't be a barrier. If you have a smartphone and a laptop, or a smartphone and an old computer, you can make videos and you can start uploading to YouTube and you can create content that you love. So yeah, just remember, you don't need fancy equipment to create a good video. If you've got good ideas, you have a story you want to tell, the actual content is there, even if it's not shot in the highest quality possible, and you're passionate about it and you care about it, then of course you can do YouTube. You use the resources, the equipment that you have with you that you don't have to pay for, or that you have to pay very little for, or that you can borrow from people, and you use that to tell the story. Because at the end of the day, it's content creation. It's about the content. It's about what's within that video, not just how pretty that video looks. Obviously, that's important too, but you've got something to share with the world. Not having a bunch of money shouldn't be a barrier to that. So I hope that was helpful for you guys, and I hope that you got an interesting little look into where I started and the kind of equipment that I used for most of this career. I'm only just upgrading stuff now and it's very exciting, but even with crappy equipment, I have loved every second of it and I wouldn't give it up for the world at this point. If it's something you guys want to do, I believe in you and I know that you can make it happen. Thank you guys so much for watching. All of the resources will be linked down below so that you can find them easily. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it and subscribe, because why not? Don't forget to smile, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.